Why is it that the sharpest wounds often don't come from weapons, but from words? One offhand comment, one dismissive tone, one look of contempt. These moments can linger in the soul longer than we care to admit. You've felt it, haven't you? That sting in the chest after someone disrespects you in public. That quiet anger you carry home after a coworker crosses the line. That internal war between wanting to defend your dignity and not wanting to lose your peace. Today, we're not just talking about rude people. We're talking about your power, how to protect it, how to own it, and how to rise above disrespect without becoming the very thing you despise. This is Stoicism in action. And if you've ever struggled with holding your ground while keeping your peace, this message is for you. So take a breath, settle in, and if you find value in this kind of wisdom, subscribe to Stoic now. We're building a space for calm minds, sharp thoughts, and unshakable presence in a chaotic world. Now let's begin. Here's the truth no one really talks about. Dealing with rude people isn't just about having good manners. It's about mastery of your emotions, your reactions, and your identity. Because anyone can be kind when people are kind to them. That's easy. The real test? Staying composed when someone's trying to push your buttons. That's where your strength is forged. In this video, we're not just teaching you how to brush things off or walk away. We're exploring 4 powerful strategies that help you rise above the noise. Not by suppressing your emotions, but by channeling them into clarity, control, and confidence. You'll learn how to disarm disrespect without losing your cool. How to create calm even when others bring chaos. And how to make sure your peace isn't up for negotiation, no matter who you're dealing with. So stick with me. By the end of this, you won't just know how to deal with rude people. You'll know how to master yourself in the process. The art of silence. Imagine this. You're in a meeting, and someone cuts you off mid-sentence with a condescending smirk. They roll their eyes, maybe throw in a dismissive comment like, "We've already tried that." You feel the heat rising in your chest. Your instinct? Fire back. Defend yourself. But instead, you pause, you breathe, and you say absolutely nothing. That silence. It speaks louder than any comeback ever could. Here's why. Psychologically, silence forces the other person to sit in their own behavior. It creates discomfort, but the kind they can't escape. They expected a reaction, a fight, a back and forth that would justify their disrespect. But when you withhold that, you show strength. You control the rhythm of the room. The Stoics knew this well. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And sometimes, the strongest reaction is no reaction at all. Now, let's be clear, silence isn't weakness. It's not about swallowing pain, avoiding conflict, or bottling things up. It's not silence out of fear. It's silence out of choice, out of strategy. It's the kind of silence that says, you don't get to control my energy. Here's another way to look at it. Ever seen 2 people argue on the street? One's yelling, flailing their arms, losing it. The other? Calm, quiet, still. Which one looks stronger? That's the power of composure, of refusing to be dragged into someone else's storm. And it's not just about the moment. It's about what happens after. When you don't react, you don't replay the argument later in your head. You don't carry that anger home with you. You stay grounded in yourself. But this takes practice. Silence is uncomfortable because it challenges your ego. Your pride wants to prove something. But your wisdom? It knows that not everything deserves your voice. So next time someone throws rudeness your way, pause. Don't just react. Respond with nothing, and watch how loud your silence becomes. The mirror of understanding. Let's be honest. When someone's rude to you, your first thought is probably, what's their problem? Or worse, what did I do to deserve that? But here's a truth that will change the way you see rude people forever. Most of the time, it's not about you. It's about them. People who lash out, snap, or insult aren't usually trying to destroy your day. They're struggling with their own. Maybe their morning started with bad news. Maybe they're drowning in anxiety. Maybe they never learned how to handle frustration without turning it into fire. The Stoics taught us to separate behavior from meaning. Marcus Aurelius said, whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question. What fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? In other words, before taking offense, look deeper. Think about it. A barista snaps at you for no reason. Cold tone, sharp words. You could get angry, fire back, or stew in resentment all day. But what if you paused and thought, maybe I'm not the target. Maybe I'm just in the blast radius. Neuroscience backs this up. When people are emotionally overwhelmed, the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, takes over. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and empathy, goes offline. That's why people say things they regret or act out of character. It's pure survival response. So no, their rudeness isn't justified, but it might be understandable. And when you understand someone, even a little, you gain a kind of superpower. You stop taking everything personally. You stop making their storm your identity. You stop carrying around offense that was never meant for you in the first place. That doesn't mean you excuse abuse or disrespect. Not at all. But it does mean you respond with clarity, not ego. And there's a huge difference. So next time someone's rude, ask yourself, what are they carrying that I can't see? Because when you recognize the pain behind the posture, you see them not as a threat, but as a mirror, a reflection of what unhealed hurt can look like. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is choose understanding and walk away lighter. Boundaries over burnout. There's a line between being kind and being a doormat. And when it comes to rude people, that line is called a boundary. A lot of us were raised to be tolerant, to keep the peace, to just let it go. But here's what no one tells you. Tolerance without limits turns into quiet misery. The Stoics weren't passive. They were composed, yes, but they also believed in protecting one's peace. Seneca wrote, "You should be careful whom you allow to influence your mind." That includes people who constantly chip away at your dignity under the excuse of just being honest or just joking. So, how do you set a boundary? You use calm, direct words, not anger, not sarcasm, just clarity. Let's say a coworker regularly speaks over you. Next time, you could say, "Hey, I'd like to finish my thought before we move on. Please let me speak." Or maybe it's a friend who jokes about your insecurities. You could say, "I know you're joking, but those comments don't sit right with me. Can we keep it respectful?" It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be firm. And here's what usually happens. Either the person adjusts because they respect your clarity, or they double down because they were never planning to respect you in the first place. Either way, you learn something. You stop giving unlimited access to people who keep taking more than they give. But what if someone keeps crossing the line, even after you've been clear? That's when a boundary becomes distance. It might mean fewer conversations. It might mean walking away completely. And yes, that's hard. But you have to ask yourself, is keeping this relationship going worth the cost of my peace? Because here's the truth. Rude people often rely on the fact that you won't speak up. But once you draw that line, they either evolve or exit. And both outcomes protect your energy. So don't be afraid to say it. "I won't continue this conversation if it stays disrespectful." Or, "I value our relationship, but I won't accept being spoken to this way." Boundaries aren't barriers. They're filters. They let in what's healthy and keep out what drains you. Humor that disarms. When someone's rude, your first instinct might be to shut down or strike back. But there's another path, lighter, smarter, and often more powerful. Humor. Not sarcasm. Not mockery. Just honest, lighthearted wit that lifts the tension instead of feeding it. Think of it like emotional jujitsu. You don't fight force with force, you redirect it. You catch the moment off guard and flip it on its head. Let's say someone snaps at you with that classic, "Wow, you're slow today." You smile and say, "Right? I'm on part-time genius hours this morning." Or someone throws a passive-aggressive jab. "Must be nice to not care." You could reply with a grin, "Yeah, I worked hard to earn this level of chill." That kind of response, it shifts the power. You're not taking the bait, but you're also not shrinking back. You're showing emotional agility, the ability to stay calm and keep the room light. The Stoics might not have cracked jokes in the middle of the Roman Senate, but they did believe in mastery of reaction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Humor changes that estimate. It reframes the moment. But know your audience. Humor doesn't work on everyone, and it's not a tool for toxic or abusive situations. If someone is being aggressive or threatening, humor is not your shield. Distance is. Also, don't confuse wit with sarcasm. Sarcasm can escalate things fast. It's humor with a blade. Real humor? It lifts the room, not wounds it. So when someone throws shade your way, ask yourself, is there room for a little levity here? If the moment feels tense but not dangerous, go for it. Because the one who can laugh without mocking, who can smile without surrendering, is often the most powerful person in the room. 7. So let's bring it all together. Because what we've talked about today, these aren't just ideas. They're tools. And the more you use them, the sharper they get. The next time someone's rude to you, whether it's a stranger, a coworker, or someone close, remember this 4-part toolkit. 1. Silence. Don't fuel their fire. Pause. Breathe. Let their rudeness echo without an answer. Ask, does this really need a reaction? 2. Understanding. See the storm, don't become it. Recognize when someone's projecting their pain. Ask, is this about me or something they're carrying? 3. Boundaries. Draw the line and keep it clear. Speak up with calm strength when the pattern repeats. Ask, what am I allowing that's draining me? 4. Humor. Laugh and keep your power. Use light wit to defuse, not escalate. Ask, can I lift this moment without lowering myself? Think of these like tools on your belt. You won't need all 4 every time, but the key is knowing you have them. Because when you do, you stop living on defense. You start navigating the world with strength, clarity, and peace, no matter who's in front of you. And that's what real self-mastery looks like. Rude people won't disappear. They'll show up in traffic, in meetings, in your inbox. But you get to choose every single time, whether you mirror their chaos or return to your calm. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Let that settle in. The real victory isn't in the comeback. It's in the self-control. It's in knowing that no one else gets to write your emotional script. So take this with you, not as a rule book, but as a reminder. You are not helpless in the face of rudeness. You're powerful because you're intentional. You protect your energy, not because you're fragile, but because it's sacred. And if this message resonated, give it a like. Share it with someone who's tired of being pulled into battles that aren't theirs. And subscribe to Stoic now, where every video brings you closer to peace, presence, and power. Until next time, stay grounded, stay sovereign,